Very good morning to everyone. Today we'll learn physical features of India class 9. So it is of second chapter of class 9. Okay, chapter 2 physical features of India. Now we have already learned earlier that India is a vast country with varied landforms. In which class we have learned? Let us recapitulate once. In class 6 we have talked about the physical features of India. Okay, what kind of terrain do we live in? If you live in the plains, you are familiar with the vast stretches of plain land. In contrast, if you live in hilly regions, the rugged terrain with mountains, valleys are common in features. In fact, our country has practically all major physical features of the earth. Okay, that comes from mountains, plains, plateau, desert, coastal plains, islands. All of these, right? So from this chapter, what we will learn, we have already clarified that we will learn the physical features of India. Now, landscapes. When we use this term landscape, it is of two kinds, physical and cultural landscapes. Okay, let us begin with the cultural ones, which are generally man-made. That means with using natural substances, natural objects, whatever man has made. Those are cultural landscapes. Those also we are seeing. So those are man-made or cultural landscapes. And whatever is made by nature, okay, the river plains, river beds, mountains, plateau, all these features what we see on the surface of the earth, that comes under physical landscapes. Now in this chapter of class 9 we'll learn about the physical features of land in wherever landform you are in, like people, we are interacting from Himachal, Uttarakhand or Haridwar or Varanasi or Northeast or a student living in Maharashtra. So we are living in India. India is a vast country having varied physical features. Let us learn about these physical features today. So the land of India displays a great physical variation. Geologically, the Peninsular Plateau. Now, this term will be very important for our today's class, because you will ask me, ma'am, what is Peninsular Plateau? When a piece of landform is surrounded by water in its three sides, we call it peninsular, right? So that's why we call this portion of India as Indian Peninsular. Okay. Now, if it is an we know here it is a plateau. Later on, we'll learn about it in detail. So this portion is called as Peninsular Plateau. Consists of one of the ancient landmasses on the surface of the earth. Why ancient land masses? Because in the chapter of rocks earlier, we have read that ancient rocks or primary rock, or another term can be given, basic rocks, are known as igneous rock because it has formed for the first time on the earth. It is the primary rock from which all the landforms, all the rest of the types of rocks have been emerged. Okay. So igneous rock. So this thing is very clear that Peninsular Plateau is mostly formed by igneous rock, right? So it was supposed to be one of the most stable land blocks. Most stable land blocks because it is made out of igneous rock. The Himalayas and the northern plains are the most recent landforms. From the viewpoint of geology, Himalayan mountains form an unstable zone. Now we will learn that why Himalaya is forming an unstable zone. Okay, this portion is basically Himalayas. So we will learn about this. First, let us learn that why Himalaya forms an unstable zone. First of all, Himalaya is the outcome of two plates moving towards each other. Okay, one is Indo-Australian plate, and Eurasian plate. So in the ancient ages, when even these two plates are still in motion, but still when it was moving towards each other, in between these two plates there was Tethys Sea. Okay, here there was Tethys. Now you know that Tethys Sea, it is the beneath of the sea was full of sediments, sand, silt, clay. And when the two plates were moving towards each other, this clay was folded, and thus the Himalayan mountain was formed. So as these two plates are still in motion, and they are in motion of converging plate boundary, they are converging or colliding with each other. In this motion, what happens? It is an unstable zone. Every now and then we find that an earthquake like situation takes place in this particular location, and it is affecting the surrounding terrains also. So the whole mountain system of Himalaya represent a very youthful topography with high peaks, deep valleys, fast flowing rivers. The northern plains are formed of alluvial deposits. Now, how come we say that the northern plains are formed by alluvial deposit? Because the rivers which are coming from the mountain, they are cutting and moving forward. And what are these cut materials going? They are transporting and then depositing somewhere in the lowland. So this is how we get northern plains, which are very fertile in nature, full of alluvial deposit, and as we know that India is an agrarian country, northern plains turns into a agrarian field or agricultural land, and it gives or provides food to us. Okay, so the Peninsular Plateau is composed of igneous rock and the metamorphic rock. These two rocks considered as hard rocks, right? So metamorphic rocks, we have already come to know that these are with due pressure and heat. Igneous or sedimentary rock can be formed as metamorphic rock because of the process of metamorphosis. So this igneous and metamorphic, both the rocks are very hard in nature, and peninsular plateau are formed by these two types of rocks. Are we clear? So with gentle rising hills and wide valleys, we can see peninsular plateau. So up to this overall idea of the landforms we see in India, I think it is clear. Now the major physiographic divisions we'll learn in detail one after another, right? So let us start with the major features of India. First is Himalayan Mountains, Northern Plains. Here is Himalayan Mountains, then Northern Plains, Peninsular Plateau, Indian Desert, Coastal Plains, both Western Coastal Plains and Eastern Coastal Plain. The islands group of islands are of two. In the west we have Lakshadweep group of island, and in the east we have Arabian and Nicobar Islands. So this is what are 6 physiographic divisions. 6 major physiographic divisions of India. Hereafter we'll learn one another physical divisions of India in detail. Okay, so let us start with the Himalayan mountains. The Himalayan mountains geologically are young. Why these are young, we have already dealt with that these two plates, European plate, Eurasian plate and Indo-Australian plates are still in motion, and in between sediments are being folded up. So thus these mountain ranges or this fold mountain stretch over northern borders of India. These mountain ranges run from west to east of our country. That means if you imagine the northern part of our country, you will find that this stretches from west to east. Let us draw a north line so that you will understand the direction better. So from west to east it stretches. Okay. So, and the riverine landform, if we see, from the Indus Valley to Brahmaputra. Indus is somewhere here and Brahmaputra in the side of Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Meghalaya, that portion. So this is a huge mountain range called Himalaya we are talking about. The Himalayas represent the loftiest and one of the most rugged mountain barriers of the world. As we know, the highest mountain peak is Mount Everest, which is of Himalayan ranges. They form an arc and which covers a distance of 2400 kilometers. This is very important for your exam, for MCQs as well. 2400 kilometers, it stretches from west to east. Their width varies from 400 kilometers. Now width is somewhere it varies from 400 to 150 kilometers in Arunachal Pradesh. So in west, Jammu and Kashmir, Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh, we find the width is varying 400 kilometers, and towards east, Arunachal Pradesh, it is very narrow, 150 kilometers. Later on, we'll see through the map also. Meanwhile, the altitudinal variation are greater in eastern half than those in the western half. The Himalaya consists of 3 parallel ranges in its longitudinal extents. Okay, longitudinal, that means the north-south extent. From the west to east extent, we have 3 parallel ranges. A number of valleys lie between these ranges. Okay, the northernmost range is called Greater. That means the northernmost region is called as Greater or Inner Himalayas or Himadri. It is the most continuous range we have and the loftiest peaks, more than 7,000 meters height. Peaks we can see, all the peaks are very prominent here. As you can see in the map, see that first we have Himadri Himalaya. Okay, then the different parts of Himadri Himalayas are also marked. Some highest peak of the Himalayas: Mount Everest, Kanchenjunga, Makalu, Dhalagiri, Nanga Parbat, Annapurna, Nanda Devi, Kamet, Namcha Barwa and Gurla Madhata. Now among all of these which are in India, Kanchenjunga is in India. Nanga Parbat is in also India, height of 8,126. Kanchenjunga 8,598. Nanga Parbat and Kamet 7,817 to 7,756. Namcha Barwa is in 7,756 heights. So the folds of Great Himalayas are asymmetrical in nature. That means these are not in symmetry. These are somewhere asymmetrical. Okay. These are not in symmetry. The core of this part of Himalayas consists of granite. Granite is an igneous type of rock. So rocks are of 2 types, intrusive and extrusive. Okay, intrusive and extrusive. Now extrusive, outside or on the earth's surface when it cool down and solidify, it has more finer grains, for an example basalt, whereas intrusive, it cools down and solidify inside the crust or in the magma chamber. So these grains are more coarser. Okay, so these like granite is one of the example of it. So it is perennially snowbound and number of glaciers descend from this range. Why these are snowbound? It is just obvious that of this such height, as we know, with 1 degree 1 kilometer, okay, the temperature decreases up to 6.4 degrees centigrade. So this much of height, you may understand that why the temperature declines and why all of these peaks are snowbound throughout the year. Okay, so the range lying to the south of the Himadri forms the most rugged mountain known as Himachal. So after Himadri, what we have? We have Himachal. Lesser Himalayas, Greater Himadri or Greater Himalaya, and Himachal or Lesser Himalaya. Okay, so the ranges are mainly composed of highly compressed and altered rocks. Compressed or altered, that means due to heat and pressure, these rocks are compressed, and the height is between 3,700 to 4,500 meters. Average width is 50 kilometers, while Pir Panjal ranges from the longest and the most important range. After that, Dhauladhar, Mahabharat ranges are also prominent. Where Pir Panjal is located, let me draw for you. So if you start from above, you will find Karakoram, Ladakh, Jaskar, and here Pir Panjal. Pir Panjal is the part of Lesser Himalaya or Himachal Himalaya, right? Other than this, we have Dhauladhar, Mahabharat range are also prominent ones. This range consists of the valleys of Kashmir, Kangra and Kulu valley. When we go to Himachal Pradesh, which valleys are very enchanting and we are very excited to visit? Kangra and Kulu valleys. So these are all in Himachal Pradesh. Okay, this region is well known for its hill stations like Shimla, Kulu Manali. Okay, so up to this, moving on to the find outs. I missed out some find outs of Himadri portion, the name of the glaciers and passes that lie in Great Himalayas. Now what are these passes? When you want to cross, move from one mountain to another mountain, you should move through a pass. Okay, a pass is also known as La in some regions, northern part of our country like Ladakh, Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh, etc. So, Shipkila, Baralachala, Tanglangla, Umlingla, all of these are the name of the pass which are actually connect one mountain to another mountain. The name of the states where the highest peaks are located, this we will do, of course, after learning northern mountains. Location of Mussoorie, Nainital, Ranikhet from Atlas, we will also do after finishing this mountain ranges. Okay, moving on to the Shiwaliks. So after Himadri, Greater Himalayas, Lesser Himalaya, Himachal, what we are getting? We are getting Shiwaliks. So all of these are longitudinal or north-south divisions. They extend over the width of, again you can see the map of Shiwalik range here. Here is the Shiwalik range. Okay, the Great Himalayas, the Lesser Himalaya and the Shiwaliks. Maps are very important to understand this chapter. Without map, you are unable to understand this. So always keep your atlas book open while learning this chapter. Width of 10 to 50 kilometers, Shiwaliks are having the width of 10 to 50 kilometers, have an altitude of 900 to 1100 meters. These ranges are composed of unconsolidated sediments brought down by the rivers. As we know from the mountains, rivers are coming down and they are eroding and moving forward. So while eroding, the cut materials are being deposited, right? So these cut materials are called as sediment. So sediments brought down by the rivers from the main Himalayan ranges and located farther north. These valleys are fully covered with thick gravel and alluvium. The longitudinal valley lying between lesser Himalaya are known as the Shiwaliks are known as the Duns, Dehradun, Potli Dun, Patli Dun. All these terms are very well known to us, right? So what are these duns? The longitudinal valleys lying lesser Himalayas are known as duns. So very important thing, besides the longitudinal division, the Himalayas have been divided on the basis of regions from west to east, right? The regions from west to east. These divisions have been demarcated by river valleys. For example, Indus and Satluj has been traditionally known as Kashmir and Himachal Himalaya from west to east respectively. The part of Himalayas lying between Satluj and Kali river is known as Kumaun Himalaya. The Kali and Tista river, Nepal Himalaya. Tista and Dihang, Assam Himalaya. So with the help of river also we can classify. So Indus and Satluj, Kashmir and Himachal Himalaya, and then Satluj and Kali river, this forms Nepal Himalaya. Kali and Tista river forms Kali and Tista rivers form Nepal. Okay. Satluj and Kali river forms Himachal Himalaya. I stand correct myself. And Tista and Dihang river forms Assam Himalaya. So if this asks that regionally divide Himalayan ranges, then the division will be Kashmir Himalaya, Himachal Himalaya, Nepal Himalaya, Assam Himalaya. With the help of the rivers or river valleys, we can divide it. So do not get confused, and many students I see that they write down the longitudinal division, then your answer will be incorrect. So if they are asking the regional names by the river valleys, then your answer will be this. Okay. Moving on to the next. The Brahmaputra marks the easternmost boundary of the Himalaya beyond the Dihang Gorge. That means here we are talking about this part of Arunachal Pradesh, okay, and where from Tibet Sangpo forms and originates. After that it enter India through this. There's a gorge we find. This gorge, beyond the Dihang Gorge, the Himalaya bends sharply to the south and spread along the eastern boundary. So this part of Himalaya is known as Purvanchal Hills or Eastern Himalayas, Eastern Hills Mountains. These hills running through the northern eastern states are mostly composed of strong sandstones, which are sedimentary rocks. Covered with dense forests, they mostly run as parallel ranges and valley. Purvanchal Hills comprise Patkai Hill, Naga Hill, Manipur Hills and Mizo Hills. All are very important. There are some more hills in Meghalaya. We find Garo, Khasi, Jayantia. Later on, we'll read this in the further chapters of even in the climate chapter also. We will read the significance of Purvanchal and Garo, Khasi, Jayantia. Moving on to the next. If you have seen up to this, uh, do make sure that you have subscribed to my channel, and if there's any doubt from Northern Mountains part, you can surely comment us down below, and I will instantly let you know about it more, or I will ensure that your doubt will be clarified. So let us start with the Northern Plains. The Northern Plains has been formed by the interplay of three major river systems. Now these three major river systems we have to learn here. India, when we talk about India and its major river system, we talk about Indus, Ganga and Brahmaputra. Let us draw a map, then it will be easy for you to understand. Now, it is not a well drawn map, still we can understand with it. So, Indus, most of the Indus part is here, okay, like this. Ganges from Uttaranchal. So, we have it here like this way, and Brahmaputra. So, these are the three main rivers which are making the Indo-Gangetic plain. This is very important in while studying Northern Plains. What is Northern Plain? When the rivers are coming from the mountains, these are coming down slope, and while coming down slope, basically this cut, erode and move forward. Okay, and various landform it make while moving forward. How come? First it erode, then move forward, and the eroded or cut materials are deposited by the river time to time and place to place. So the erosion, deposition and transportation, these are the three actions the river are doing. Okay, river are actually giving several landforms in their whole life cycle. We will read about it in the drainage system later on in detail. So for Northern Plains, what we need to understand that is there are major three rivers in India, Indus, Ganga and Brahmaputra, with their tributaries and distributaries. In the drainage chapter also we'll talk about tributary and distributary. Tributary is when some channels are there which contributes to the main channel. That means small channels are being captured, so they are tributing their water to the main channel. So they are the tributaries. And some channels are there which are actually channelizing or distributing the main channel's water to among two different pathways. Then we call it distributaries. Okay, so these are the two terminologies you will understand and talk about in this Northern Plains also, and in our third chapter, that is drainage system. Okay, up to this I hope is it clear. Let us come to the plains are made up of alluvial soil. Now where from this alluvial soil is coming? As I said that when the rivers are coming down, eroding, taking all its cut materials and depositing somewhere, all these cut materials are made out of sand, silt and clay. So these are actually the sediments. We say that Northern Plains are very rich in alluvial soil, which is very good for agriculture. So this is the background story of alluvial soil. The deposition of alluvium in a vast basin lying at the foothills of the Himalaya over millions of years formed this fertile plain. Why do we call Northern Plains as very fertile? Because it is made out of sedimentation or out of alluvial soil. It spreads over an area of 7 lakh square kilometer. You can imagine how vast it is. Plain being about 2400 kilometers long and 240 to 320 kilometers broad. Okay, so the stretch from the north Indus, Ganga and Brahmaputra. Towards the east it is almost 2400 kilometer and the width is almost 240 to 320 kilometer. When it comes down from the mountain, the channel are very narrow, and after that by the time of middle or the lowland, the channel gets broadened up. Yes or no? That's why the width varies from 240 to 320 kilometers. Is densely populated physiographic division. Why is it densely populated? Because each and every people who want their basic need to be fulfilled. From the ancient period, we see that people are settling down along the riverbeds for varied reason. For the different civilization we have talked about in earlier classes, all are along the riverbeds. So it is very populated area because of several features the rivers are providing to us. Okay, it is modes of transportation. It gives us fertile soil so we can cultivate crops, we can have our basic needs fulfilled. All of these are the reasons to be the densely populated physiographic division, which even the connectivity is very good, well connected, transportation, formation of transportation, making road connectivity, railway tracks are very easy because the land is not rugged like plateau or hilly terrain or mountainous terrain. With a rich soil cover combined with adequate amount of water also we get, favorable climate also we get. So all of these makes the riverine plains or the northern plains very much favorable for living. The northern plain is broadly divided into 3 sections. Now here comes the most important part of northern plains. We can classify northern plains into 3 groups. Western part of the northern plain, Punjab plains, formed by Indus and its tributary. Larger part of the Punjab plains are in Pakistan, and what are the main channels or the tributaries? There are 5. These 5 channels are making the Punch or 5 river Doab. Okay, so that is Punjab. Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Bias, Satluj originates from Himalaya. This sections of the plain is dominated by Doab. This is what the term I mentioned. Okay, now let us find out what is the meaning of Doab. Doab is made out of 2 words, do, that means 2, and ab meaning water. Panch is 5, 5 waters. So there are 5 tributaries we have got to know. The Ganga extends between Ghats and Tista river. It is spread over the northern India, Haryana, Delhi, UP, Bihar, partly Jharkhand and West Bengal. Let me draw the map, then you will be better understanding the location of Ganga here. Okay, so from here Ganga has originated, then it comes down, enters to West Bengal. From Farakka there's another branch from Dhulian that is enters to as Padma to Bangladesh. There are several right bank and left bank channels are also there. So this is what are Ganga river. So it covers the northern India, Haryana, Delhi, UP, Bihar, partly Jharkhand and West Bengal. In the east particularly Assam, lies in Brahmaputra plains, and Brahmaputra comes from Tibet and the name of Sangpo, then it enters from Arunachal Pradesh, then from Assam, Meghalaya, it moves to Bangladesh and joins river Padma. So this is what, and in Indus we see that mostly it is in the western part of our country. So this is how all the 5 rivers we have of Indus also. So this connection, like, let me take another color so it will be easy for you to detect. Indus, then it is Ganga, and here it is Brahmaputra. So these are the 3 main rivers which are making the northern plains. Are we clear up to this? Let us come to the farther part. The northern plains are generally described as flat land with no variation in its relief. If it is not true, these vast plains also have diverse relief features. How come? Let us see. According to the variation in relief feature, the northern plains can be divided into 4 regions. The rivers, after descending from the mountains, deposit pebbles. You must have seen while visiting several places, it deposits pebbles in a narrow belt of 8 to 16 kilometers of width parallel to the Shiwaliks. What do we call them? We call them Bhabar. That is Bhabar belt. It is very close to Shiwalik. The streams and rivers re-emerge and create a wet, swampy and marshy region known as Terai, where we see dense forest. Okay? In Bengal, we find doers. Everyone else are going to doers. Okay? So, these doers are a part of Terai region. And it is thickly forest covered, forested region full of wildlife. The forests have been cleared to create agricultural land, settle migrants from Pakistan after partition, and locate Dudhwa National Park in this region. We will do all the map pointings later on, but till then let us cover up the northern plains first. The largest part of northern plain is formed by the old alluvium. Now Bhavar and Terai we have understood. Now let us come to old alluvium. It lies above the flat plains of the river and present as a terrace-like feature. Okay, what are floodplain? When the rivers are flowing and it has too much of load, and by the time several rivers are also captured by the river, so the volume of water is also increased. So it is too much load to carry. So river flood either side in the bank, along the bank, and it deposit all its sediments here, thick sediments here as floodplain. And this floodplain, nonetheless, it is very fertile and it is like a terrace-like feature. We can call it as a natural embankment or natural levee also. This part is known as Bhangar, where old alluvium is deposited. The soil in this region are calcareous deposit. We can call it conquered. Okay. Calcareous deposit, we call it conquer. The newer or younger deposit, which are finer and deposits of flat plain, are known as Khadar. So in the natural levee, we find conquer or old alluvium, and in the flood plains where agricultures are mostly done, we find finer particles or younger new deposits. New deposit which is of Khadar. So Kankar is of part of Bhangar. Okay. and Khadar. So these are the 4 things we should learn about the northern plains. 4 important things. First we have talked about Bhabar, Terai, Bhangar and Khadar. Okay. So this is what we know or talk about northern plains. Now the most important question comes from northern plains, that is Bhavar belt, then comes Terai region, and the last we have read Kankar or Bhangar and Khadar. So even the difference also come. Okay, so first one, let us see, these are tables along the Shiwaliks, Terai, swampy and marshy region. Okay, full of dense forest. Kankar is of old alluvium. Khadar is of young deposit, which is finer. So this is what the northern plains. And we will definitely continue northern plains even in the drainage chapter also, because drainage and northern plains are interconnected. So let us move to the next topic, that is Peninsular Plateau. Peninsular Plateau. Now, as said earlier, that what is peninsular? Now, as said earlier, let us come to the point Peninsular Plateau. Okay, first we will understand what is plateau. Plateau is of tableland surface. Okay, it is shorter than hill. Hill is shorter than mountain. Okay, and plateau is shorter than hill. And it looks like a flat tableland. So that is known as plateau. Now let us come to another term, that is peninsular. What is peninsular? When we talk about a piece of land which is surrounded by water in all its 3 parts are known as peninsular. Now in this portion, the plateau or the tableland surface we find, we call them peninsular plateau. These peninsular plateaux are composed of old crystalline, igneous and metamorphic rocks. This entire peninsular plateau is known as made up of igneous rock or the lava rocks. So this we have already read in the previous classes. Now igneous and metamorphic rock both are hard rocks. Igneous rock is the basic rock we know from which other rocks are generated. Now what are metamorphic rock? From the sedimentary rock or igneous rock due to excessive heat and pressure when another kind of rock substances originated, that is known as metamorphic rock. The process of these heat and pressure compression is known as metamorphosis. That means a certain kind of rock is being changed into some other type of rock. So this process of change is known as metamorphosis, and the rock, the outcome we are getting, as a result we are getting another type of new rock, that is metamorphic rock. So from this paragraph we come to know that the crystalline formation of igneous and metamorphic rocks are there in the Deccan Plateau or Peninsular Plateau. It was formed due to the breaking and drifting of the Gondwana land and thus making it a part of the oldest landmass we have. It is oldest, that's why it has gone through numerous times of erosion and the upper portions are chopped off. That's why it is flat land or tableland surface. Clear? The shallow valleys and rounded hills are there. These plateaus consist through 2 broad divisions, the Central Highland and Deccan Plateau. Now when we talk about Central Highland,
The portion is in this portion we have Central Highland. Okay, some more plateau we will learn. Okay, before we dive into Deccan Plateau, the southern portion is Deccan. The word comes from Dakshinatva. Okay, the southern part, Dakshinatva. Okay, where Dravidians used to live. The part of Peninsular Plateau lying to the north of Narmada River. Where is river Narmada? Let me show you. Here runs river Narmada, after that river Tapti. Okay, so this is river Narmada and Tapti. These two rivers are actually separating northern India and southern India. This is how. Okay. Moving on to covering a major area of Malwa Plateau. Central Highlands is known as Malwa Plateau. Then the Vindhya range, Vindhya, Satpura, Mahakal, all these ranges we'll study. South of the Aravallis on the northwest, the farther westward extension gradually merges with the sandy and rocky desert of Rajasthan. The flow of the rivers draining this region, namely Chambal and Sindh, Betwa, Ken. So, which are the four main channels? Chambal, Sindh, Betwa, Ken are the southwest to the northeast rivers. Thus indicating the slope. Okay, the slope is from here to here. So, Chambal, Sindh, Betwa, Ken. The central highlands are wider the west but the narrower in the east. The eastward extensions of these plateaux are locally known as Bundelkhand and Bagalkhand. Okay, so the peninsular plateau are divided among several parts: Central Highlands, Bagalkhand, Bundelkhand, Chotnagpur Plateau, Assam Plateau and Deccan Plateau.
Let's begin with Chotnagpur Plateau. Chotnagpur Plateau. First, let us see where is Chotnagpur Plateau. So, if I am trying to draw the map of India, so in this particular location we find here is Chotnagpur Plateau. Similarly here Assam Plateau, Central Highlands and Deccan Trap. So this one is Deccan Trap, Central Highland and Chotnagpur Plateau. So Chotnagpur Plateau marks the further eastward extension drained by Damodar River. So here the river name is pretty important. The Deccan Plateau is a triangular landmass, as you can see, lies to the south of river Narmada. River Narmada and Tapti or Tapi, these two rivers are flowing from east to west and they are going to Arabian Sea. So these are the two rivers. The Satpura range flanks its broad base in the north, whereas in this particular location we find here in the Satpura, Mahadev, Mahakal, all these Kaimur hills, even the Kaimur hills are also there. So Mahadev, Kaimur hills and the Maikal range from its eastern extensions. Achha, later on we will definitely try to locate these locations in the map. Uh, the hills and ranges in the physical map of India. Next, the Deccan Plateau is higher in the west and slopes gently eastward. An extension of the plateau is visible in the northeast, locally known as Meghalaya.
Now here this particular location is Meghalaya, Karbi Anglong Plateau, Karbi Anglong Plateau and North Kachar Hills. It is separated by fault from Chotnagpur Plateau, and three prominent hill ranges from the west to east are Garo, Khasi, Jayantia. If we see this particular location in big, you will find that this location is Meghalaya and covered with three parallel ranges, Garo, Khasi and Jayantia. And this area was separated by the Chotnagpur plateau due to a fault. Clear? So, three prominent hill ranges from west to east are Garo, Khasi and Jayantia. So these are important. Once we will do a map pointing class, then we will surely try to locate and label all these names of hills and plateau region. Let us move to Western Ghats and Eastern Ghats. As we say earlier that Ghats are of two, uh, let us a quick drawing. So this is Western Ghats, which is quite continuous, and this is Eastern Ghats, which is even discontinuous, or you can say it is broken in nature. The western and eastern edges of the Deccan Plateau respectively are known as Western Ghats and Eastern Ghats. They are continuous and can be crossed through passes only. As we are seeing in the hill or mountainous region, from one mountainous mountain to another mountain, uh, you should cross a pass, or a pass interlink two mountains. Similarly, here also these ghats can be crossed through passes. So there are several passes to connect from one another ghats, like Thal, Bhor, Pal Ghats in the physical map of India will later on point it out. The western ghats are higher than the eastern ghats. The elevation is almost 900 to 1600 meters. Against in the eastern ghats we find it is only 600 meters. And you will see that most of the rivers are western, flowing from west to east and making their deltas in the east. So you can see that the slope is from west to east. 900 is more than 600. So 900 meters to 600 meters. So the slope is more in west and less in east. That's why all the rivers are trying to make their deltas in the east and the source found in the western part. The eastern Ghats stretch from Mahanadi Valley to Nilgiri in the south. So, Nilgiri is somewhere here and Mahanadi is somewhere here. Okay. So the eastern Ghats are discontinuous and irregular and dissect by rivers draining into Bay of Bengal. The western Ghats cause orographic rain. Now this orographic rain we need to understand that when monsoon winds come, the southwest monsoon wind hits Kerala coast first, and after that it moves to the northward towards western Ghats. As it is a quite it has a quite altitude, so what happens that it the moisture laden wind collide with the western Ghats, and then it orographic type of rainfall happens. Then it shed almost most of the portions of the moisture in the western Ghats. Then when it becomes light, then it floats to the upper atmosphere and then cross western Ghats. Then rest of the part of our country gets good amount of rainfall. So the maximum portion in the early monsoon period we get here due to orographic type of rainfall by facing the rain bearing moist winds to rise along the western slopes of Ghats. You will get this orographic rainfall separately in some other video, in an other video that is uploaded in the playlist. For this chapter we will only consider the physiographic divisions, not the climatic factors. Alright, so moving on to the western Ghats are known by different local names. The height of the Western Ghats progressively increased north to south. The highest peak include Anaimudi, which is 2,695 meters, and the Doda Beta, 2,637 meters. Mahendragiri, 1,500 meters, is the highest peak of Eastern Ghats. So the highest peak of Western Ghats we have Anaimudi, and highest peak of Eastern Ghats we have Mahendragiri in Eastern Ghats. Chevroy Hills, Javeri Hills are located in the southeast of the Eastern Ghats. Udagamandalam, popularly we say Uti and Kodaikanal, these are the mostly visited places in Eastern Ghats. One of the distinct feature of peninsular India or peninsular plateau it is made out of lava rock, and black soil area is known as Deccan trap, and black soil is very fertile for the cotton cultivation. That's why most of the cotton cultivation is going on in this piece of land called Deccan trap. Most of the part of Gujarat, Maharashtra is growing cotton because these area is covered with black soil. Another name of black soil we have, that is Regur. The Aravalli Hills lie in the western and northwestern margin of Peninsular Plateau. These are highly eroded hills, or these are old folded mountain. It has from the ancient ages it is there, and it is going through erosional activities. That's why the upper portion of the mountains are being chopped off. Okay, so it is kind of a broken hill now, or a residual mountain also you can call it. They extend from Gujarat to Delhi in southwest northeast direction. Okay, if you draw, Aravalli comes in this direction. This is of Aravalli. So it is in the south west or northeast direction, and from it extends from Gujarat to Delhi. Here, moving on to Indian desert. Before we talk about Indian desert, those who have seen up to these, do share with your friends who need this video and subscribe to the channel. So, Indian desert. What is desert? Desert is a region which is of scanty vegetation and lesser rainfall or no rainfall zone. In India, we have two types of desert. Ladakh is cold desert, and Great Indian Third Desert, that is a hot desert. The Indian desert lie towards the western margins of Aravalli. Right, so if you want to see the location, let me draw it quickly, as quickly as possible. So this particular location we are talking about, this is Great Indian Third Desert, and Aravalli is situated in here. Here, it is an undulating sandy plain covered with sand dunes. This region receives very low rainfall, 150 millimeters per hour or per year, or 8 centimeter to 50 centimeters rainfall per year. Okay, it has arid climate with low vegetation cover. Streams appears during the rainy season. All are non-perennial rivers. Soon after they disappear into the sun, as they do not have enough water to reach the sea. Correct? Luni is the only large river in this particular location. Barkhans and crescent-shaped dunes. Barkhans are the cover large areas, but longitudinal dunes becomes more prominent near the Indo-Pakistan boundary. If you visit Jaisalmer, you may go to see group of barkhans. Barkhans look like this. These are mostly having a crescent shape, and the normal sand dunes or the mounds of sands look like this. Okay. Barkhans have several divisions, like longitudinal dunes are also there. We call them shift dune. These are the sand dunes, and these are barkhans. Okay, so this depositional landform, these are of depositional landforms. You can see depositional landforms of wind action. You can see in the desert region, even some erosional landforms are also being seen, like mushroom rocks, insel birds, yugan, like this. We will definitely discuss all these landforms in a separate video. For now, let us come to the coastal plains. Peninsular Plateau is flanked by a stretch of narrow coastal strip and running along the Arabian Sea on the west and Bay of Bengal on the east. Coastal plains, or the western coast sandwiched between Western Ghats and Arabian Sea. That means when I say sandwiched with, that means here is Arabian Sea, here is Western Ghat, and this is Western Coastal Plain. So in between Arabian Sea and Western Ghats, Western Coastal Plains lie, and it is a narrow plain. It consists of three sections. We know first is Konkan, Mumbai to Goa, Konkan, then Kannada and Malabar coast. So this is how we have Konkan, Kannada and Malabar coast. I told that monsoon winds reach Malabar coast first and then Kannada and Konkan. So this is how there are three bifurcations, and the plains along the Bay of Bengal are wide and level. Northern part is referred to Northern Sircar. Then it is southern part is Coromandel coast. So Northern Sircar and Coromandel coast. So these are the two bifurcation we have. Large rivers such as Mahanadi, Godavari, Krishna, Kaveri are formed in the extensive delta on the coast. Lake Chilka is also an important thing to study in this chapter and featured along the eastern coast. It lies in Orissa somewhere here. Chilka is the largest saltwater lake in India, and it lies in the state of Orissa to the south of the Mahanadi Delta. We have already seen India has a vast mainland. Beside this, the country has two groups of island. First island, if we draw like this manner, we have Andaman Nicobar Islands in the on Bay of Bengal, and Lakshadweep on west in the Arabian Sea, right? So these are the two island groups we are having. Lakshadweep Island is lying very close to Malabar coast of Kerala. This group of island is composed of a small coral island. Earlier they were known as Lakshadweep, Minikoi and Amindevi. In 1973 these were named as Lakshadweep, and it covers small area of 32 square kilometers. And Kavarati Island is the administrative headquarter or the capital of Lakshadweep. The island group has great diversity of flora and fauna. Piti Island, which is uninhabited, has a bird sanctuary. This is very important, both the Kavarati and Piti Island. Why Piti Island is important? Because it has a bird sanctuary. Now let us come to the word coral. We read that Lakshadweep Island is a coral island. What are corals? Corals are coral polyps. Okay, coral polyps are small living organisms, short-lived microscopic organisms which live in colonies. They flourished in shallow, mud-free, warm waters. They secrete calcium carbonate from their body, and the coral secretion and their skeletons form coral deposit in the form of reefs. The reefs may be look like this. Alright, so These are mainly different structure can be there, different beautiful structure can be there, and all these are the outcome of the secretion of calcium carbonate from the coral, outer inner surface of coral polyps. So fringing reefs, atolls can be also seen. Okay, the Great Barrier Reef in Australia is a good example of coral reefs. Atolls are circular or horseshoe shaped coral reefs. So this is what about Coral Island, Lakshadweep. Now let us come to Bay of Bengal, extending from north to south. There are Andaman and Nicobar Islands. They are bigger in size and more numerous and scattered. The entire group of island is divided into two groups, Andaman in the north and Nicobar in the south. As Andaman is open for tourism but Nicobar isn't, you need special permission to move to Nicobar Island. It is believed that these islands are an elevated portion of submarine mountains, and these island groups of great strategic importance for the country. There is great diversity of flora and fauna in this group of islands too. These islands lie close to equator and experience equatorial type of climate, has thick dense forest. India's only active volcano is found in Barren Island in Andaman and Nicobar group of islands. A detailed account of these different physiographic features units highlights in this unique feature of each region. It would, however, be very clear that each region complements others and makes the country richer in the natural resources. The mountains are the major sources of water, forest, wealth. The northern plains are producing granaries, providing us food and food to the civilization. The plateau is the storehouse of mineral. Why? Because we have already read that mountains and plateau are made out of hard lava or rock or igneous rock or metamorphic rock, which are full of minerals. So whether it is Deccan Plateau, it is Chotnagpur Plateau, Central Highlands, you will be surely get numerous amount of varied kind of minerals. That's why so many plants are industrial plants or factory based areas are setting up in these particular locations. And the coastal regions, island groups provide sites for fishing, port activities, etc. So the diverse physical features of land have immense future possibilities and development. That's the purpose of studying this chapter. Okay, so there were six portions or six features of physiographic divisions of India we have completed. So whether from this chapter, if there's any doubt or any other question from any other chapter, you can reach me through the comment section down below. Till then, subscribe to the channel and help me to grow and learn together. Thank you.